We'll begin. Good to see everybody today. Where's Alan? Okay. Alan is going to ask you all, what does the club want to do on May 2nd for the What is Ham Radio event at the Ham Radio outlet? And so we will get to that after our speakers present. And does anybody else have anything else they would like to cover today for the second half of the meeting after the presentation? All right, go ahead, Ben. Yeah. The Elks Hamfest, we'll talk about that. Excellent. Okay, good. All right, and Alan's outside watching the gate. Perfect, okay. Oh, Alan's there. Is anybody watching the gate? For 5 minutes. Okay, thanks, Gert. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the River City ARRCS monthly meeting. We have guest speakers from all over. I'm going to have Carol do the introductions because she worked very hard to get them to join us. They are well-known ham radio enthusiasts and builders, and Carol is going to do the introduction. Go ahead, Carol.
Hello, test. Okay, got my. Okay, I'm Carol, Kilo Papa for Mike Delta, and I'm just going to go ahead and share that slide. So this Dean Souleles is with us, KK4DAS, and he is a SolderSmoke podcaster. He received, together with Bill Mira, the 2025 ARRL Technical Service Award in recognition of their SolderSmoke direct conversion receiver project. This was developed as a 7 megahertz receiver built to teach high school students analog electronics, and it evolved into a global challenge for the amateur radio community. And the other speaker we have here is there, Pete Juliano, November 6, Quebec Whiskey. He has been a longtime SolderSmoke podcaster, and he is the 2015 QRP Hall of Fame inductee. He's been designing and building radios for over 50 years, sharing his insights and encouraging beginners to learn and enjoy homebrew radio through online blogs, websites, and his N6QW YouTube channel. This SolderSmoke podcast has been going since 2005. It covers the joys of homebrew radio and the lively and lighthearted spirit of NPR Car Talk host Click and Clack the Top Brothers. And they have blog, they have a YouTube channel, and they have a Patreon page also, and the links are there too. So I'm going to turn it over to our speakers, and thank you very much.
Well, great. Thank you so much for having us. And let's see if I've got can share the screen here myself. All right. Let me go to slideshow mode here, make sure everybody can see. All right, can we see the slides in the room?
Yes, we are seeing them just fine. That's good.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks, everybody. So I'm Dean, KK4DAS, and pleased to be with you this evening. Pete, I'm coming to you from Virginia, from Great Falls, Virginia, out near DC. So it's about 10 o'clock at night here. Pete is with us from California, and Bill couldn't be with us tonight. He's in the Dominican Republic, or he may be traveling back from the Dominican Republic as we speak, but it would have been an hour even later for him, so he couldn't join us tonight. We're the three guys that do the SolderSmoke podcast. Of course, Bill is the father and the longtime producer of the SolderSmoke podcast. Pete's been with him for how many episodes now, Pete? Do we figure?
102.
102 episodes.
Yeah.
And I've been with them for about 20 now, so for about 2 years worth. So um, uh, we do the podcast more or less monthly. If you haven't heard it and you're interested in anything related to homebrew ham radio, I suggest you listen. And you can go back, years and years and years, and have lots and lots of content. I got started in homebrew amateur radio largely because of listening to SolderSmoke. They were running a challenge a few years back called the Michigan Mighty Mite, which is a 7-component, 1 transistor CW transmitter. And I get so excited about building something from scratch. I built it. Bill even sent me the crystal, the color burst crystal in the mail. And the story there is, even though Bill lives about 8 miles from me, there was postage due because they considered that skinny little crystal a package rather than a letter. So I had to go pay 85 cents at the post office to rescue my crystal. So so that led me on to build a bunch of other things. I built a radio that Pete designed called the Simple SSB 40-meter single sideband transceiver during COVID, all on my own, with some help from Pete via email and a few Skype sessions at the time. And then I've gone on to lead the makers group for our club here, and we built 15 of those receivers, and then a whole bunch of other things. So that's kind of who we are. I'll move on to the story here. So first question that we're going to cover tonight is, what are we talking about? Why even building a receiver? You can go down and buy one. They work really well, but it's a challenge, and it's a challenge because it helps you learn about how radio works. And as you'll see, if you build this receiver, by the time you're done, you're going to know the fundamentals of radio design because every other radio is based on all the same principles. We had some failures and some successes, and I'll talk about those and kind of talk about why we did it the way we did it. So first question, why build a receiver and why this receiver? Well, one of our inspirations is Asher Farhan, VU2ESE. Farhan is the inventor of the BitX series of transceivers that go back 20 years or so. He built the first BitXs because he wanted to have a project that Indian hams could build that they could build really cheaply. And he built an entire 20-meter single sideband transceiver for less than $5 US at the time, using things like plastic faucet washers instead of toroids for his inductors. And so he has a lot to say about why we build radios and what we do. And he tells the story that when he was working with his niece to build a 40-meter direct conversion receiver for a school project, his cousin Harish says, "Why do you want to do that? You can go down to the Dubai duty-free shop and get one." And his answer is, we are human beings and fundamentally tool builders. We have opposable thumbs that allow us to grip the soldering iron. And so, his view is we build things because we're builders. That's what we do. We like to build things. And building a usable receiver is a personal landmark for many. It's a personal competency to be able to understand fundamental operation of radio and the mastery over it. There has been a conventional wisdom in amateur radio that receivers are too hard for hams to build. Going way back, you could build a transmitter. You just have an oscillator and you turn it on and off, and you can be doing CW. But receivers have been thought of as being difficult. Well, this has been repeated over and over again. You can build simple transmitters, but simple receivers are hard. Well, it's not true. And we missed out on a lot. And, Wes Hayward and others back in the 60s revisited this idea of a direct conversion receiver. We'll talk about exactly what that means, and took it from the vacuum tube era into a simple transistor era. And we kind of pick up from that legacy. So, as I said, it's hard. It is hard, and we're gonna just lift a little quote from John Kennedy here. We chose to go to the moon and do the other things not because they're easier, but because they are hard. Well, we choose to build this receiver not because it's hard, but because we thought it would be easy, and it wasn't. So that was a little bit of our reminder going in that while it is straightforward, it's not easy, and you have to approach it with deliberation, with care, if you want it to actually work. So the project started out at Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology. That is the leading high school in the state of Virginia. It's Virginia's Science and Technology Institute for advanced students. They go on to all the big technical schools, MIT and Harvard and Stanford. And they actually came to us and said, hey, we are building a satellite that we're going to launch, but we want to put a ham radio transmitter on it as a secondary communication, but we don't have any people that have ham radio licenses. So we got 36 of their students licensed over the course of we did about a 6-week course with them. But the teacher said to me, well, we want something that's not just textbook. We want something hands-on. Well, I had just completed a direct conversion receiver project for our club, and I said, well, I think I have just the right project, but we need to do some work on it. And so Bill and I put our heads together. We skinnied down the receiver that I had previously built. We went back to some fundamental original designs from Wes Hayward and others, and we came up with the design. And we worked really hard on it. We went to the school 15 times. The first meeting, we were astonished. The room was full. There were 35 or 40 students, but they lost interest. We couldn't keep them going. I think partly because it is the advanced school and they were building a satellite project and they had AP courses and they, all the varying competing interests. We couldn't get them through. They got really close. One or two basically had the modules all put together and we were just doing some basic tune-up, but they didn't finish. They all the receivers and partial receivers went on what we call the shelf of shame, or in my case, the drawer of despair, where projects that don't work end up. But we wanted to succeed. And Bill and Pete and I have talked about this many times on the podcast, and kind of almost off the cuff during the December 2024 podcast, I said, you know what? I want to get people doing this. So we're gonna make a challenge. We're gonna call it the SolderSmoke Challenge. You can build a receiver with us and we'll build it alongside. And we'll start in January and we'll go for a couple of months. And I'll do a video on the boards and we set up a Discord server. So for those of you that don't know what Discord is, it's what all the kids and the gamers use to communicate on their projects together. It's a little bit like Facebook, but it's a private group. So the only people that see your stuff are in our group. It's not searchable from the web. It's all internal to Discord. So we set up our own SolderSmoke server and invited people to come join. We now have over 1,000 participants in the Discord server from that time, and we got going. So a couple of things. This is a homebrew project. It is not a kit. In other words, we don't have printed PCBs and packets, envelopes of parts that we send out to you. In fact, we don't send anything to you. You have to acquire all the parts yourself, and you have to sit down at your soldering iron and figure out how to put them together. We provide kind of all the directions for what to do and how to do it and how to test it, but we don't provide a kit. There were others that said, well, if you provide a kit, you're going to get more people using it. Well, we said no. We really wanted this to be a homebrew project in the tradition of amateur radio homebrew, which is you build it yourself at home. So people say, well, what about Heath kits? Aren't those homebrew? And our answer is no, those are kits. And you don't feel like you've designed and built the thing when you build a Heath kit. I have behind me a beautiful cabinet that I got from IKEA that I put together. Does not make me a carpenter. It makes me a kit builder. So it doesn't mean you have to design it yourself, but you have to build it yourself. You have to think through the stages. In fact, very few of the circuits that we use are original. None of them are original in this case. They're all begged, borrowed, or stolen from other designers going back to the beginnings of radio. So we made a couple of design decisions very early on. We wanted it to be really simple. Remember, we were building this for high school students. So it had to be brutally simple. We had to keep the part count down. We had to make it a success-oriented project that if you kind of follow the guides, you're going to get a working receiver. We had many suggestions from many experienced engineers who said, you should do it this way, or you should change that, or there's a better audio amplifier, or there's a different way of doing the oscillator. And we said, no, we want to keep it just the way it is. Any of them should have worked, might have worked, may have even made a little bit better or more efficient or quieter receiver. I don't know, but it would have been much more complex. And we said, no, we wanted to keep it really, really, really simple. So what's our receiver? It's a 40-meter direct conversion receiver. It's 100% discrete components. There are no microcontrollers. There are no ICs. We have transistors, resistors, capacitors, some wound inductors, and a little audio transformer, and that's it. That's it. And you can see it there. It's just four simple boards, and it's a really real working 40-meter receiver. It can receive CW, it can receive single sideband, upper or lower sideband because it's direct conversion. You can actually listen to AM on it. It's a little tough. You got to tune it exactly right. But you can also receive digital signals. I've plugged it in and decoded FT8 and Whisper with it. So it's a real receiver. It's not a toy, even though it looks really, really simple. All right. So what's a direct conversion receiver? It's just four components. And if you understand how these four components operate and work together, you'll understand the fundamentals of what you need to know about radio. First thing on the left is we got the antenna that comes into the band pass filter. And all that does is it filters out all the RF of the world and narrows it down to the 40-meter amateur radio band. And we have those all in our receivers. And that's important because our mixer that's going to come next is going to take any RF that comes into it and mix with that oscillator and produce outputs. And we only want the ones from the 40-meter band. Okay, so on the bottom is the oscillator. We use what's called a permeability tuned oscillator. I'll talk about that a little bit soon. But that basically is the tuning mechanism. And by direct conversion, it means that we set that to the frequency that we want to listen to. So let's say you want to listen to 7.175 on the 40-meter band. You tune that to 7.175, and that's the frequency you're listening on. You mix that with the incoming RF from the bandpass filter in the mixer, and we'll talk about what the mixer does and how that works. But what comes out of the mixer is audio. It takes the VFO or the oscillator, mixes it with the RF, and you get a sum and a difference frequency. The sum frequency is up around 14 megahertz, so that just goes away. The difference frequency is the leftover audio passband and baseband, and that's it. That's it. Four boards. So once you understand how those four parts work, you'll understand how essentially every receiver works. All right, we use what's called Manhattan style construction, and this may be new to some of you who are familiar with etching PCBs with acid, or in the modern way, you design a PCB in a CAD program and you send it off to JPL PCB in China, and they send you back a nice, beautiful PCB with holes in it, all ready to go for your parts. We did not do that. We used plain single-sided copper board, and what you see on the left with those little squares, those are islands that you solder the components to. The board itself is used as the ground plane, and those islands are how you connect the pieces together, and that's called Manhattan style. It's very straightforward to use. It's easy to assemble when you can work fast. If you want to get a little fancier, Pete actually uses a milling machine, and instead of gluing pads down, he mills the pads. And I've done that. I've done the same thing too, but it's very, very straightforward, very fast. No turnaround to China, no CAD program. One of the great things about designing and laying out boards this way is you can almost follow the schematic from left to right or top to bottom and lay the board out exactly as you see it on the schematic, unlike most manufactured PCBs. So we use Manhattan style construction for this. All right, let's go through the boards one at a time. The first board is the oscillator, and an oscillator is simply an amplifier that has feedback. And just like when you get feedback through your loudspeaker in your room there, the little bit of output gets back into the input and it goes whoa 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 whoa, whoa like a cat chasing its tail. Well, that's the oscillator, and we use a type of oscillator called a Colpitts oscillator. It's a very simple circuit, as you can see. It's a transistor and a couple of capacitors and an inductor in a feedback loop. So on the far left, you see L1. That's in the schematic, that's the inductor. And C1 and C2 are the two capacitors, and those form what they call the tank circuit, which is the circuit which resonates at the frequency of interest. A couple of things of interest on this board. You'll see it's got a little 3D printed form, and it's got a coil, and it's got a screw running right through the middle of the coil. Well, that screw is the tuning mechanism. I glued a knob on mine, but you can tune it. That's how you tune, and you're moving that brass screw in and out of that coil. That changes the inductance of the coil, which changes the frequency. Now, in many receivers, they use a variable capacitor to do the tuning, but air variable capacitors are expensive and a little harder to come by, and you don't build them yourself. With this, you 3D print that form, you wrap some wire around it, and as we say on the podcast, Bob's your uncle, and you have the inductor, and the number of turns sets the inductance, and then the combination, the parallel combination of those two 660 picofarad caps and the inductor produce the frequency. The Q1, the 2N3904, that transistor, that is the thing that provides the amplification, and we feed a little bit of the output back into the input, and at the resonant frequency of that tank circuit, it takes off and produces the local oscillator frequency. The only other part of that circuit that's of any interest is Q2, the J111. That's a FET, a JFET transformer, and that's simply there as a buffer that prevents anything you attach to the oscillator from loading down that 2N3904 and pulling the frequency off. We also added a little gain in that stage in order to have a strong enough signal to drive the mixer. So that's it. That's it. And we had the students build that first. And once you've built that, you've actually built an RF generator. You've built a little transmitter. It produces RF at 7 megahertz, and you could use it if you added a keying mechanism. You could use it as a CW transmitter on that frequency. So we thought that was really important for the high school students to build first because they would have produced RF. We walked around their classroom with a little portable receiver. And as they were tuning their PTOs, you'd hear it go whoop. And they got so excited when they realized that there was no wire between that and the receiver we were walking around with. It was really RF that they were generating. So that's board number one, the permeability tuned oscillator. Okay, the bandpass filter. This is a tried and true very simple design. It's called a double tuned bandpass filter, and basically it consists of two stages of an LC filter. So you've got an inductor and a capacitor, and they're set so that they produce the bandpass in 40 meters, and they're connected by C20, which is a little capacitor that couples the two stages together. These filters are documented in some early ARRL books like SolderSmoke design or solid state design for the radio amateur, and experimental methods in RF design. And many of these have been published in QST and QEX over the years. Very, very simple. As you can see, it's just a handful of components. People are sometimes afraid of winding coils. I'm not sure why. I mean, if you can count to 20, you can count to 5, and you can keep track of left and right, you can pretty well wind a coil. They're not as hard as you think. I think that fear comes from the old days when you had maybe 100 windings or 200 windings on a power transformer, or maybe an audio transformer. These are simple. The most we ever put on them is 22 or 24 windings. And you can see on the lower left, it has a pretty good bandpass shape, and it passes the 40-meter band, and it attenuates everything else. Good enough for what we're doing here. And also, again, very, very simple to build. The thing that makes the thing work is the mixer. And the mixer consists of 4 diodes in a ring, and every cycle of the RF, 2 of the diodes are turned on and 2 of the diodes are turned off because of the way it's constructed. It's got transformers in and transformers out to keep it at 50 ohm and to pass the signal through. But again, this is a tried and true, long time developed. There are mixers like this in virtually every radio you have ever used. And of course, now with software defined radios, the mixing is done in software, but this essentially does the same thing that a software design mixer does. It takes the input RF through one port. It takes the local oscillator through a second port. It mixes them, and the output is a sum and a difference. And the sum, again, is discarded because it's out of the audio range, and the difference is audio. And again, it's 4 diodes in a ring and 2 transformers, and that is the entirety of the mixer. There are things you can do to it to improve the balance. You can add some balance pot and that sort of thing. But again, in the spirit of keeping it as simple as possible, we went with a very simple mixer. The students, the high school students, when we first did this, had a lot of trouble figuring out what wire on the transformer had to go where. And so I did a very detailed diagram for them, step by step, to show them how to do it. And actually, some of our builders on Discard found that useful as well. All right, to the right of that is the audio diplexer, and that consists of C7, L11, and C16, and R7. And all that does is it produces a 50 ohm load at all frequencies that come out of that mixer. So you want any of the RF to be shunted right to ground, and that happens through C7 and R7. So that presents 50 ohms at RF, and then you want all the audio to go off to the audio, and so that's what the diplexer does. This was a circuit that we picked up from Roy Llewellyn, I believe. But again, it's not an original circuit to him either. It's a very common circuit, a simple audio diplexer. In fact, you don't, strictly speaking, have to have it for the direct conversion receiver. This was one complexity we added because in Northern Virginia, we have a very strong radio station called Radio Marti, a shortwave radio station that transmits U.S. Content into Cuba at something like 500,000 watts. And when it wakes up, it can overwhelm our receiver. And it got so bad that I was getting ready to invade Cuba myself. So we put the diplexer in, and that helped tamp down what we call it AM bleed through on these simple receivers. So that's the mixer and the diplexer. And then the last board is the audio amplifier. It has by far the most components. It has 3 transistors, but it's 3 transistors that are in essentially identical circuits. You got 3 transistors in series, and the reason you need 3 transistors is because there has been no gain in this receiver up to this point. There's only been loss. You have some losses in the filter, you have some losses in the mixer. So this is the entirety of the gain of the receiver, And the conventional wisdom is you need between 80 and 100 dB of gain to have a usable receiver. And this gets you to that about 85 or 86 dB of gain the way we calculated it. Audio potentiometer, and then a audio transformer and a small speaker. And that's it for the audio amplifier. You can see the power rail across the top that has a bunch of capacitors on there. Those capacitors are used to keep RF off of the uh, out of the circuit, stray RF out of the circuit, and prevent oscillation. Our builders probably had the most problem with this stage in that with that much gain in a small space, it's very easy for a little bit of the output to leak back somewhere into the input, and it often happens through the DC power rail. So we found that we had to add more bypass capacitor to the power rail. Again, many builders got frustrated and they just wanted to throw an LM386 in there. We said, nope, build it the way we designed it. We know it works. We built it. It works, and the proof is that we've now had a large number of builders build it. So that's it. That's the amplifier stage. That's what it looks like when it's all put together. This is the one I built as the demonstration unit for the high school students, and we've referred to it off and on as we go. So 4 boards, little bit of power from a 9-volt battery. You take a piece of wire and toss it up in a tree. Put a little bit more on the ground as the counterpoise, and you're off and receiving. And like I said, it's a real receiver. It can receive all of the SSB and CW and digital signals. It's not a toy. It's been used to make contacts on sideband, on double sideband, on CW, FT8, and almost every builder, even the ones that have been experienced, are astonished by what they've built. And if you've never heard a direct conversion receiver, it just has a different sound to it than a heavily filtered superhet receiver. And you're closer to the RF, you're closer to the ether when you're listening to a direct conversion receiver. The builders are really pleased with it. We established early on that you couldn't just claim you'd built the receiver. We needed proof. We needed proof of life. So we asked people to submit videos on the Discord channel, and that has turned out to be really fun because people really want to get in what we call the Hall of Fame. And the Hall of Fame means you've completed the receiver as we built it. Now, if you're one that just couldn't stand building it exactly like we did, and you built it mostly like we did, but you changed something, we give you honorable mention, but you don't get in the Hall of Fame. So people really want to get in the Hall of Fame, and so we require the proof of life, and Bill has done a great job. He posts a lot of the videos right on the SolderSmoke blog. We've had 128 completed as of today. More are getting completed all the time, 18 different countries. This one here was built in Singapore. I love the fact that he etched the schematic right onto the board as he built it. Now you'll see he added a frequency counter, so you can make little additions once you're done. We have an area on the Discord server for modifications and changes, and you can add things like that later. But we told everybody not at first. At first, build it the way we said. We're very pleased that we were awarded the 2025 ARRL Technical Services Award, and we just recently learned that we received the Great Britain QRP Club 2025 G2NJ Trophy for the greatest contribution to international QRP. So getting some recognition for the project is very nice. But the better recognition is 128 receivers have been built all over the world. And when we started getting guys from Singapore and far-flung places of the world, it's just delightful. And we've got a real active group there on the on Discord. Let's see. I did not share audio, so let me stop sharing and share again, and I'll give you a demonstration of how this thing works. Share. forgot to hit the share sound. There we go. And let's pick the first one here.
With it, modify it for and improve some of it.
So anyway, that's just one of many of the 118 that we have built, and there's audio, there's videos and audios on there. Yeah.
Dean, we heard that, but we didn't see any video with it.
All right. Let me do this again. Then I'll bring the video up this time. Stop share. Should have done a share screen instead of a share of the. Here we go. Share. All right, skip ads. Go back. There we go.
With it, modify it
Better?
for and improve some of it.
Yes.
All right. So there you go. And get back to the presentation. Wait a minute. Stop. So that was Alan Wolke. There was who also built one. So we've had luminaries like Alan Wolke and others who are real experts at this and more accomplished than me and some of the rest of us. All right, let's go. All right, so that is the story. We would like to urge you to build this thing. Be an Elber and help someone else. We have our Discord server. You click on that, that'll give you a link. You got to create an account, but we don't ask for anything other than your name and your call sign. There's all the documentation is on there. Where there's additional documentation on Hackaday and then on the SolderSmoke YouTube channel. Let me do this now. I had something set for you here. Let me see if I still got it. All right. Want to show you the Discord server real quick here. All right. So this is Discord. We open it up. I'm in different servers. This is the one we have here called SolderSmoke. And you can see we've got the DCR challenge. And inside there's a getting started folder. In the getting started folder, you're going to have all the videos that I produced. There's the schematics are available. We've got a general discussion where you can ask any questions you want. And then each board has its own channel, the audio amp, mixer, PTO. We have one called bill of materials or parts is parts. One of the biggest challenges we had was getting people to realize they actually can source these parts. It's not as hard as they think, but they have to kind of go out and do it. The bandpass filter, measurement and testing, mods and upgrades, and then, as I said, the Hall of Fame, where our folks post their successes. So that's it. I've done a lot of talking. I want to hand it over to Pete for a minute and see if he has any other pearls of wisdom to add on this kind of project or the kind of thing that we do here.
Dean, just again, an amazing project that you and Bill came up with, just simply outstanding. And the results are evident once you listen to the radio itself. And I just for fun, I did a search on YouTube, direct conversion receiver. There are hundreds. There are hundreds of different direct conversion receivers, which tells you this is a popular project and it's a useful project. So I think, as Dean in one of the slides indicated, people actually use this. It's not just sits on the desk. It's actually used in uh, QSOs, and the sound is just absolutely amazing. One thing I wanted to mention, just from the way extreme technical side, if you can get your hands on solid state design for the radio amateur (SSDRA), which is really a superb publication and it precedes EMFRD. But if you go to one of the appendix, I think it's two in solid state design for the radio amateur, Wes steps you through the detailed analysis of how to design a bandpass filter. So while you have the data for 40 meters, if you wanted to build one for 75 or 80 meters, or maybe one for 20 meters, you're stuck. What constants they use, but he steps you through it, and so it's real good to know where the source is of how you can design. Now they got software programs. You just enter the information, it'll design a filter for you. But if you want to do it just like this project, solid state design for the radio amateur. But hats off to you guys, because I think if you just look at that from the minimum part count, there's not a lot of parts in there, and yet there's a lot of performance. So it's really absolutely amazing. And the other thing too is, I think one thing in passing, I personally kind of shy away from analog VFOs because I think they drift. This one doesn't drift. The PTO is rock solid. So the design is such that you can tune in the frequency. It's not going to be drifting all over the band. So that's another thing. And I think you've seen that. Just you've built so many of them, and it's just consistent. Isn't that right, Dean? About the
It's absolutely consistent. It surprised us how stable it was at first. The big trick is to use good temperature C0G capacitors for those capacitors in the tank circuit, and it makes all the difference in the world. And then as long as you ground the actual PTO screw itself, as long as it's got a path to ground, then you don't get capacitive drifting from your hand waving around it. And those were a couple of things we overcame as we went. But yeah, it's rock solid.
Yeah, super. So anyway, I really encourage the club there to take a hard look at this, and this is a great project. This is something that's going to take you more than just 1 or 2 evenings to build, but when the final result, and of course with the Discord server, you have all the information that you need to build it. I mean, anything you'd want to know, it's on the Discord server, so it's not like you're just looking at a schematic and then say, "What do I do next?" But
And
anyway, hats off to you
Bill and
guys.
I are on there. Bill and I are on there just about every day. And if we don't answer a question, we now have 118 successful builders, many of whom are on there already, and they're ready to help folks. In fact, I'm finding now that sometimes they get to them before I do, and that's absolutely fine with me. So,
Yeah.
so we're happy to take any questions you might have.
All right, Dean and Pete, thank you very much for a really interesting presentation. And I know we're going to have questions because we have builders in here already. We have Walter, name and call sign for our guest.
Yeah, Walter, K6HTD, approximate cost of the materials, plus or minus. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of variability.
Well, let's see. The most expensive component on there is the audio transformer, and I think that's about $4 or $5 at Mauser. Everything else is cheap. I mean, pennies. So $10 in bulk. But it's hard to buy one transistor or one resistor or one capacitor. But if you did a group build and you said, all right, we're gonna order a bag of transistors and a bag of these, $100, $150, you could probably build 10 of these easily.
Hi there, Ben, K6 GEO. Thanks for the presentation. I always see these projects and it makes me think about things to do with my kids. And so this might be a project I would build with my 7-year-old son. You guys have probably built a bunch of these. What's sort of your build time on one of these projects now? And then what do you expect the build time to be for somebody for their first time?
I would not try and rush it. If you have some experience building circuits, and you have some experience, debugging transistor oscillators and amplifiers, then, you can do a board in a Saturday morning, But when we set out to do this with the Discord group and with the high school group, my thought was we'd do about one board a week. It turned out to be about one every 2 weeks with the Discord group, and some of the guys were having trouble keeping up. But part of it is they had to they had to source the parts, and then many of them didn't have even rudimentary test gear. So test gear, you need a soldering iron obviously to assemble it. You need a multimeter. Really useful if you have and know how to use an oscilloscope. For any RF projects, really useful. And then the other thing that's useful is one of these tiny nano VNAs, a network analyzer, because that it just helps you see the shape of the filter and things like that. Now, you don't
How
need
does,
any of those things. You can do it. You could just use an RF. In fact, you could use a receiver sitting next to it to dial in the frequency. You don't have to have any of those other things if you follow through.
How do the builders come across the permeability tool, the permeability oscillator screw device, the actual?
So that's a 3D printed device, and we provide the 3D printer file for it. And so we actually have guys on the Discord server who will make them for you if you don't have access to a 3D printer, but they print pretty easily. And then it's a screw and 2 nuts that you can buy at your local hardware store.
All right. Other questions for Dean and Pete?
Yeah, hi, this is Carol, KP4MD. First of all, I want to put a shout out there to a lot of people online have joined us. We have currently about 20 people online. And I think the furthest one is probably ZL2 Bravo November Echo in New Zealand. Welcome and thank you for joining us here online. I have a question. My experience with direct conversion receivers, many years ago, I had one, and it had a horrible AC hum, 60 hertz hum. And I think I was told that this is because I was using it off an AC power supply. And it's just a tremendous amount of gain in that audio frequency section that makes it almost impossible to use one of those with an AC power supply without getting some kind of line noise. What is your experience on that, Dean?
We use a 9-volt battery, and you do not get any AC hum. So, I mean, you could use a little switcher, or one of these little batteries that's about the size of a deck of cards, and it would work fine. But we chose to keep it simple, and it runs off a 9-volt battery, and it'll run for a couple hours off a single 9-volt battery.
All right. Any other questions for Dean or Peter? Oh,
Good evening. My name is George N6YG, and great presentation. Enjoyed it very much. I would probably argue that the most expensive component is going to be the copper clad. I know that I've been hoarding it for quite some time, so that's all I had to say.
ABC Fab on eBay is where we get a lot of our copper clad. He's real good. He makes it to size. But you can also buy those boards in that like 70 by 100 centimeter size from a lot of the overseas manufacturers, and they'll sell. You can buy them. You can buy bags of them for not too much money. And again, you need 4 of them plus maybe another one to cut up to make pads out of for the project.
All right. Any other questions for Dean or Pete?
Anybody online have a question?
Shout out there to K0NEB, Joe Eisenberg out there in Lincoln, Nebraska, who's great proponent of building. And thank you for joining us here online, Joe. Yeah, thanks for waving at us.
Any
All right. Well,
other-
Carol has the presentation and can get you the links to the Discord and the rest of the information that you want.
We do have one more question, Dean.
Sure.
Hi, Bill November 6 Hotel Alpha. I might have enough parts in my junk drawer to build this, but I might have to swap out some FETs or maybe some transistors. Do you have to worry about impedance matching when you do something like that with this project, or is it have come wiggle room?
So it's very forgiving. You can use any small JFET for the buffer. In fact, we originally had a J310 in there, and people were complaining that they were hard to source. So I think the current schematic uses the J111, but if you have any small JFET will work in there. The transistors are all 2N3904s, but 2N222As, or just about any small NPN transistor will work for the transistors. And no, it's not going to change the impedance matching at all. The one area where you might have a little trouble is the audio amplifier, because we built it really with the 2N3904s in mind, and it's tuned pretty tightly so that those to get you the gain that you want.
All right, it's Wilson, N6EMF. I had a couple of questions. I was curious about the inductor. You picked brass. Was that brass? Is there?
It's a brass screw. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a reason for that material, or could it use?
Yeah. So if you use a steel screw, then the frequency is going to change in the wrong direction. If you use a brass screw, it's going to change in the direction you want it to change.
Oh, very good. Maybe a couple of other questions. I saw the diode network. You called it. I've never heard of a diode network like that referred to as a ring, and I was intrigued by that. So is that the same as a full wave bridge, or is it really a ring?
No, it's not a rectifier. It really is a ring with the 4 diodes back to back. If you look at the way it is connected on the schematic, on the top half of the waveform, 2 of the diodes are on, and on the bottom half of the other 2 of the diodes are on, and that's what causes the mixing action. It basically, the diodes are nonlinear devices that switch, and it's called a switching mixer or a diode ring mixer. So it looks like a rectifier, but the diodes are not configured the same way as a rectifier.
All right, thank you for that. When I was a kid, I built those crystal radio receivers, and they used a single germanium diode in the detector portion for AM radio. So I was wondering, what's the connection there? Are you using silicon, or is it germanium?
No, they're silicon diodes, and it's a real similar process. I mean, that diode is basically working in that case, it's working to rectify the AM signal. But in this case, we're actually switching the diodes on and off in order to mix the frequencies.
All right. Well, thank you.
Another shout out also to John Sutter there from the California QRP Club. Thank you for joining us online.
Are there any other questions in the room or online for Dean and Pete? We know it's later for you than it is for us, so we appreciate you being online with us. And we have to thank Carol for making the arrangements. Thank you, Carol. All right. Well, Dean and Pete, thank you so much. The information, I know Carol will put out the information about the Discord server, the presentation, anything else, Dean or Carol, okay. Dean, any last words, Dean or Pete?
No, thanks for having us.
Right.
Hope you build it. Let us know if you do. Pop into the Discord channel, ask your questions, and let's keep that number 118. Let's get it up to 200.
Amen.
Well, by the way,
right.
when Bill asked me when we started this how many I thought we were gonna get, I said we'll maybe get 10. So very pleased with how how it's turned out. So thanks a lot,
Uh,
folks.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time, and you are welcome to stay. We're going to get into club business and all that exciting stuff. So, but
Yeah,
It's on the late side here, so I'm gonna say 7-3 stall.
all right,
7-3.
7-3.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. How about a 5-minute stretch break? Good.
Okay, for those of you
Yeah.
who joined us for the talk, we're now going to proceed with regular club business for the rest of this meeting, and you're welcome to stay around, or you can leave if you wish. That's perfectly fine. Thank you, everyone who joined us online.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Mhm. Hi, everybody. We're on a break right now. We'll be back in about 5 minutes with more club business.
All right, everybody, let's get back to our seats so we can begin. Did everybody buy door prize tickets? And did you get your free one from Gert? And did you buy extras? Are you selling more tickets? All right, if you want 6 tickets for $5. That is a good deal. It is for the club. It's good for you because that's good for the club. All right. I have to appreciate N6 EMF's questions. The real electrical engineer asking the questions that he asked. No, what it says to me is that you went to class. All right. We're going to start with Ben to talk about the Hamfest in May. What was the date? 2nd? May. Right. And Ben is organizing it. I wrote about it in the newsletter that Ken published the other day. And Ben's going to give us an update on it and answer any questions we have. We're going to need volunteers to help with the logistics at the Elks Club in Carmichael. Okay, Ben.
Thank you. Like James said, I'm Ben. I'm advertising a Hamfest that normally happens every year at the Carmichael Elks Lodge. I've sort of taken over at the Elks Lodge as far as their amateur radio person. John Dyer's health kind of prevents him from getting there, and he's the one that's sort of championed this event in the past. So I'm trying to pick up the torch. Some information about the event. It is scheduled for May 31st, which is a Sunday, I believe. It's always the last Sunday in May. James and I were just talking, but historically this event has gone from 7 a.m. to about 12 p.m., so noon. There's some wiggle room there. Some of these early events are kind of hard to get to and things like that, so maybe we want to talk about, do we start it at 8 instead, or purchasing can begin at 8? I'm open to talk about that. There's been a $10 vendor fee in the past. It's free for buyers. And then there'll be refreshments for sale by the lodge. So the lodge will be open for restroom use and things like that. I think it has been in the past, but there's been reports that other times it's been closed. So I'll make sure that it's open. Let's see. This year I was able to talk to the board and got support from River City ARC to sponsor the event, which means that it is also ARRL sanctioned or endorsed. Thank you very much to the club and to Carol for helping with that as well. But my main goal is to continue this event from previous years. So this year I'd like to improve based on last year and then continue improving going forward. Some event updates. I've contacted our HRO. They likely will have staff there as participants. They may not have a booth, but they are going to advertise in their shop. And then I've been promoting this event on social media, QRZ, local groups, nets. So what I could really use is some volunteers of the day of the event to help with advertising as well. And yeah, just help getting the word out. I'm going to try to do a door prize or a raffle, but I've never run anything like that. So some help in that realm could also be really beneficial. That's kind of it from me. I've made a flyer. It was in the club's monthly newsletter. I kind of got that under the wire. So thank you very much, Ken, for indulging me on that. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Yeah. Yeah, so I could use some help the day of the event, helping to sort of coordinate parking. If you've been to the event in the past, the parking's more on the east side of the parking lot, and then the vendors set up on the south side of the parking lot. If somebody could help direct people as they show up, that sort of volunteerism would really help. Yeah, it's a pretty small event historically. It's pretty low key, which I guess is kind of nice. But yeah, just some help trying to pull this off. Yeah. So I'm not sure how John has done it in the past. I plan to be there well before the event starts to try to collect fees from vendors. And the vendor setup, we will have marked out where they're at. So. Yep. I think all the parking spaces in the parking lot have numbers on them. So it should be fairly straightforward to say, okay, you're in whatever this one is and you're the next one. So yeah. Yeah, exactly. Cool. So if you have any questions or you want to help volunteer, I'm Ben.
Well, I want to thank Ben. Go ahead, give your information.
K6 GEO. I'm on the Discord. My email is k6geo@proton.me. And if you get in touch with any of these people, they can also give you my information as well.
Thanks, Ben. So Ben's like the last ham at the Elks Club Lodge, and JoJo, right? JoJo rejoined. Okay, so now there are two. So they're trying to revitalize that whole group, the Elks Lodge Club. And it's great. Ben reached out to the club, as many of you know, and so we're official sponsors. And we asked for ARRL, what do we call it? Sanction, which means they'll publish it in QST probably, yes?
Yeah, they're going to
Yeah.
publish it in QST and also provide gift certificates for ARRL as door prizes.
All right. So we'd like it to be a little bigger than it's been in the past. One of the questions I have, and this is just my own pet peeve, so I'm interested in everybody's reaction. Ben alluded to it. I don't love the fact that people get there at 5:30 in the morning to buy stuff before anybody else shows up. It's a Sunday morning. We're talking about, ultimately it's Ben and the Elks decision, an 8 a.m. start and not allowing the vendors to sell before 8. No. Blasphemy. I'm just. Okay. Well, I think we'd have to do it on the honor code. I don't know how it would work. Or all right. Well, Phil, this was Ben's idea, not mine. Any other questions? Thank you for your feedback. Very helpful. Any other questions for Ben? All right. Well, let's thank Ben for taking the lead on this. This is going to be a lot of work. Yeah. All right. Let's get to our regular business. Oh, go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, if you look in the bylaws of this club, there used to be a Hamfest committee chair.
Okay.
So it looks like way back in the past, maybe somebody who's been here for many more years than the River City Arcs may have put on Hamfest that I don't really know. We'd have to look into the archives about that.
Well, I'm going to do, well, let's just do this because it's related. And then we'll get to Carol and Sylvia.
Okay, so I just wanted to mention again the What is Ham Radio community outreach event. I'm Alan. I'm the president of North Hills Radio Club, Kilo 6 Alpha Golf Whiskey. I've mentioned it here before. I've mentioned it on the radio, but we have this community outreach program coming up. It's something the club did 10, 15, 20 years ago. And we're bringing it back. So, and that's at the HRO parking lot on Saturday, May the 2nd, and is expected to run from 10 a.m. when they open until 2 p.m. And we have a number of exhibitors, Vintage Radio and CW. That's November 6th PAP. That's Maynard. He is a past president of North Hills Radio Club and was a licensed ham before I was born, 1957. So he is quite a character. His exhibit alone is worth coming out to see it. No, I'll have to ask. But he's got vintage equipment, what we call boat anchors, and he's going to set up a CW and voice station. We have UHF, VHF stations and some HTs. That's going to be another past president, Kim, Kilo Echo 6, Kilo Romeo, Quebec. We have POTA. That's going to be Walter and Jimmy are setting up a portable, it's really portable operation, or more specifically POTA. So if you're interested in that, and then the packet radio exhibit. Packet radio is an up and coming thing, or it's been a thing for a long time, I guess. And another group, Sweep Riders of the Sierra. They're a group of equestrian young ladies who, these races that they run through the Sierra, the running race and the Tevis Cup, Western States 100. So they support those events using ham radio and equestrians. So that they should be exhibiting. ARRL, Carol's going to set up a booth. And I'm talking to James about, does River City, are you interested in setting up a booth? Or are any of you interested in exhibiting? So either one. And if even none of those, just come out and see our event, if you can, on that Saturday, May the 2nd. So I think I covered, we also have a NorCal Skywarn exhibit. There's flyers that are available on our website, and I think you're up on your website, or I don't know. Oh, right. Yeah, there's Jimmy.
Well, that's,
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it really is for the entry level individual. Go ahead, Ben.
I just want to say, can you share this flyer or information? When I did that JOTA activity that some of you guys showed up to help with, there was some interest from the scouts about ham radio. And so I can always advertise to my pack and then our local council to try to get more people out.
I'll send it to you on the Discord.
Cool. Thank you.
Ellen,
Go ahead, Kayla, I think that was. Go ahead. I guess not. Kayla, did you have a question? Anyway, so I just wanted to bring it up again.
thanks.
And,
Alan.
if River City is interested in a booth, we can fit you in.
All right, thank you. You guys, I expect most of us are going to go. The question is, does somebody also want to set up a club booth? So give that some thought. Thank you, Alan. That's going to be a great event, and hopefully the kind of thing that we can do year after year. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's go to Carol's report.
Okay, very good. I think actually, let me see. We think we may have a measure. Okay. Very good. We're back right here. Okay. This is going to be the membership, the resource report for the month of March. We'd like to go over a few things about history and some coming events. April in radio history, April 25th, 1874 was the birthday of Guglielmo Marconi, who in the summer of 1895 sent the first wireless message over a distance of 1.5 miles and did the first transatlantic radio message in December 12th, 1901. And he passed away in 1937 in Rome, Italy. That's Marconi, father of radio, some people might say. For those of you who are ARRL members, you'll have your QST digital or physical magazine if you have also purchased that. This is the April issue. They had some really good articles in there. That cover picture is a multiband whisper transmitter, which is a very interesting project. And actually, the person who designed this is the same person who designed the Tuna Tin S. This is a new project of his featured in this issue of QST. The WSJTX Super CW mode is it's an article you shouldn't miss. That's the April Fool's article. There's always one in there just say throw your curveball, but there's a lot of good content in QST magazine. And for those of you who are not members of the ARRL, this is what you're missing. So you really should consider joining and supporting the league. Reminder also about the America 250 Work All States Award, which is going on all year long. And April contests this coming weekend, the 11th to the 12th of April. It's going to be the Georgia, Missouri, North Dakota, and New Mexico QSO parties. April 18th and 19th are the Michigan, Ontario, and Quebec QSO parties. April 19th is the ARRL Rookie Roundup and single sideband. And April 25th and 26th is the Florida, Nebraska QSO parties. Parks on the Air, we have our local, very active Parks on the Air members that very often go out on the weekends. And if you want to hook up with them, you can tag along, I'm sure, and enjoy that. Just a reminder, our website is n6na.org. We try to keep this up to date with all information about amateur radio in our community. And again, we just mentioned what is amateur radio coming up May 2nd. The next meeting program is going to be a program that Phil is going to give us about the Tiny Spectrum Analyzer, Tiny SA. And you'll have a chance to bring your handheld radios to actually show how they're set up to be used with a Tiny SA and how you can analyze the purity of the transmission coming out of your radio. So bring your radios, unless you want to say anything more about this, Phil, yeah.
How many of you are familiar with spectrum analyzers? Do you have an idea what spectrum analyzers sold for about a decade ago? With 10 grand, you couldn't get started. So now you got the Tiny SA for $50 or $60 or whatever it is. Several years ago, we had a club event where people brought in their handhelds, and I had a real spectrum analyzer, and we measured each and every one of these radios and let the owner of that radio know what the spectral purity of their radio was. And believe it or not, there were some Chinese radios that didn't look so good. The Japanese radios looked real good. So we're going to do this again. It's a repeat performance, but instead of spending $1,500 or $10,000 or $50,000 on a real spectrum analyzer, we're going to use the Tiny SA, and you will be surprised at how well that device works. And I should also mention, during our June meeting, I'm going to make a presentation, same one that I made with the W6 SFM group, about our new triplex system and how it's improved both the SWR, the insertion loss numbers, and the isolation. So with this device, we're able to run 3 HF rigs, 10, 15, and 20 meters simultaneously without any interference between any of them. So we've got some interesting technical stuff coming, and bring your radios. We'll check them out. Yes.
Yeah.
1 antenna. Did you want to bring 2? Yeah, 1 antenna.
Thank you. And all of you who are here that are participating in the door prize drawing, you'll have a chance to win a tiny essay. There's one here. Okay, well, you can get a rain check, and if you wish, we'll get you a tiny essay. Yeah. Also, Farm and Tractor Days is coming up. That's May 15th and 16th, and the River City ARRL always has a booth there. This is a public outreach event where we show amateur radio to the folks there. It's a Friday and a Saturday, and it starts at 9 a.m. and goes through to 4 p.m. And we're looking for people to stop by and help out at the booth. I know Ken Martin usually does that, and I believe Bob often does that also on Fridays. It's really a great way to outreach, and especially a lot of the kids come by and are curious about things like Morse code and communications, and we do try to have HF and VHF set up there. And oh yeah, and it's a great family event too, because there's all kinds of craft booths and all kinds of stuff going on, and food and all kind of, and there's a hay rack ride. Exactly. Okay. Again, the Hamfest, I'm really happy that we are going to be an official sponsor of this Hamfest, and we're looking for this to be very successful. We'll have to put our part into it. I will be there with the ARRL. Field Day coming up June 27th and 28th, and I know that James is going to want to talk about that. Did you want to say anything about it now, or?
We need people to volunteer. We should probably try a sign up again.
There's a sign up on the website.
Sign up on the website.
Yeah.
And we need to know who's coming. It's going to be the same location last year. There is room to camp or bring a travel trailer or a Class B or whatever you like to do if you want to stay overnight. We'll set up 3 stations through the triplexer into the 1 antenna, and they'll be linked together with computers, so there won't be repeats. And we'll need operators for all the stations, and plus 40 and 80. All right. Well, if we can separate them, okay. Well, maybe we'll have 5 or 6 stations then. So the club can set up 2, 3. Bob wants to keep it to 3. All right, hold on.
It's usually easier just to have 3 stations, unless we have extra computers and have linked them together for logging. 3 seems to work out pretty well. We don't have to be stuck on a particular band, because if the band goes away in daytime, we won't use it. So Field Day's fun. It's a good get together, and we usually have some food there too on Saturday night. So show up.
We need somebody to handle the food if we want to do that. Sylvia and Tom usually do that. They're not going to be here. So that's going to require somebody to take it over. If not, it'll be fend for yourself. But if we can find a volunteer to take over the food planning, the club each year spends money on buying food for the event. So money is no object, but we need somebody to take charge of it. Does DoorDash have a terminal for HF? That's a good idea, Wilson. All right, Carol, keep going. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Also, keep in mind the California State Fair. We will have a special event station again this year. It's going to run the entire duration of the State Fair from July 17th to August 2nd. The person who is organizing it this year is our new section manager, Jay Ballinger. November 6th, Sierra Alpha Charlie. And if you're interested in volunteering to operate there at the special event station, you should check the ARRL-SacValley.org website, because there's going to be a sign-up form there very, very soon. So for those of you who do volunteer, you get free parking and a gate pass. So you'll be able to wander through the entire fair for free those days that you volunteer. It's a great way to reach out to the public, and we were very well received last year during the state fair. And I'm pretty sure we're going to also have air-conditioned facility and have a rooftop antenna again this year. Jay's working really hard on that. And again, this is just an overview of the upcoming area events. And remember our breakfast. We have breakfast on the 3rd and the 4th Saturday of each month at the Brookfields. The first one is on Brookfields at Madison Avenue, and the other one's at Brookfields on Folsom Boulevard in Rancho Cordova. And remember that April 15th, Tax Day, is going to be our backup repeater net. That's always the 3rd Wednesday of the month. And just information about the check-ins on our nets. We had 214 check-ins during the month of March. That's the breakdown. For the website activity, we had a total of 798 page views during the month of March, and most of those views were on March 3rd, which is a total of 78. Most visited pages were our home page, our repeater page, web SDR page, and that's page, and the Hamfest page is getting a lot of
That's
visits
nice to
too.
see. Yeah.
It's already starting.
Yeah.
People are looking up our Hamfest on
All
the
right.
website.
That's good.
Most of our hits are referred to us by search engines, and we had 28% that were direct hits to our n6na.org URL. Most of our visits were from the United States, 744. We had 12 visits from Canada, 12 from Japan, and the rest from other countries that you see lit up on this map. And social media, we have 677 subscribers to the YouTube channel. And this meeting will be posted tomorrow on our YouTube channel as well for those who have missed it or want to see it again. We had a total of 1,285 views last month. And that's the breakdown of what the most popular videos were last month. Facebook page has 1,166 followers, and that's on the increase. And we have a discussion group there also with 123 members. We have a Twitter page at 163 followers, and we also have our own Discord chat. If you're interested in joining that chat, just shoot us off an email, and that's contact@n6na.org, and we will send you an invitation to join. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Any questions for Carol? All right, we have a lot going on. This is great. Thank you. All right, Sylvia, how are we doing financially?
I think you have to unshare.
We're not sharing.
It's me. There you go. Now I have to find it. Let's see. Interesting. You can actually see it. I can't. Okay. So we have 116 active members. Still working on the expiring soon people. They're going to just go all in one fell swoop really soon. I worked mostly on the aggregate spending sheet this month. So we have two new members in the House, Chris Pullis and George Pullis. You guys want to stand up and wave?
Welcome. Thank you. Nice to see you both. Thank you.
And there may be some other ones that I skipped to. I apologize, but I'll catch you. I will. Or if there's anyone here that hasn't been acknowledged, you could throw something at me and then, or introduce yourself and then throw something at me. So I have a lot of stuff on the screen, so so I want to thank Lawrence and David for their continued support of the repeater system. The total at the bank right now is $9,939.10. There's one outstanding check. If Chris is listening, I did get it in the mail to you today, so that's totally on me, which was for the power supply replacement. The general fund has $5,900 in it, and the repeater fund has about $4,000 in it. We have upcoming costs. We had $300 for the liability insurance, which is key and we get every single year. Wilson's following up and getting some equipment insurance also. It's miscellaneous stuff here. We pay for our Zoom, basically our license to use Zoom for a year, every year at this time. And our field day venue they're still only charging us $300.
Normally that would be a lot more, right?
Yeah, it would be.
So
if you have a wedding there, it's closer to $1,500.
Yeah, so we're there the whole weekend, so we're getting a great deal. So we should show up. That's why we go to Farm and Tractor too, to kind of give them a payback. So we need volunteers, as Carol said, for Farm and Tractor. It can't just be Bob and Ken. Okay, go ahead.
So, and then the PayPal account, and we still have members renewing, which is great. I like to see that. And the credit union account are here. You can look at those if you want. So, and we do get charged. So we're getting charged $27 a month for our Google account, which has gone down. I don't know if Carol did something about that or not. So, unless anybody has any questions, that's all I have right now.
Sylvia, you and Bill N6HA are doing an audit, or
yeah,
talk about that.
Well, I'm trying to get a handle on. So when before Phil was treasurer, it was a database. And then at some point it became this Excel overgrowth of spreadsheets, which are beyond, make my head blow up. So I've been doing this for about a year now, and with Wilson's help, and I have a much better idea about how things are tied together and how things work. So now I forget. Oh yeah. So we were going to do the audit because we haven't been audited for a while. And Bill's trying to do a standard audit, which is great. Just basically an audit check more than a full-on audit. Like we've had a full-on audit before, I discovered. I saw all the paperwork. It was hundreds of pages. So it's giving me more questions to answer. So I'm going to have to tweak what I'm thinking just a little bit to make those questions easier to answer. I mean, for a long time, people just printed checks and receipts and a piece of paper and put it in a folder. And there are a lot of upsides to that. Right? It's very easy when you have an auditor come in and go, show me the receipts for this check. And you just pull it out and it's there. It's a lot more difficult when you start trying to tease it into a Excel spreadsheet. It would be easier for me to tease it into a database, but technically, a database is an Excel spreadsheet, at least the Microsoft database is. So you can do the same sort of things. And there was a really good sheet that neither I nor Wilson could ever get to balance. But it has so many hooks into it there are 3 spreadsheets every month for that aggregate spreadsheet was hooked into. And if you build it, then you have a much better, then it's a lot easier, right? So when Wilson said he never got it to balance either, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna.
Well, and our activity is pretty straightforward. We have income from member dues, some donations, and our costs are pretty straightforward. You've shown most of them just now. So hopefully you guys will get to a point where it's squared away enough where we can simplify the whole thing.
Right, and
for you and future treasurers.
Bill's brought up some interesting points. That if you have a receipt and you wait 4 months to give it to me, it makes it a little bit harder to track. So, and so there's some stuff like that we're going to work through just to make it easier. Right. I mean, ideally, I would love to, and I've done this before with an Excel spreadsheet with other things. I can put a hook into the bank. It says when the account updates, send me that update, and the spreadsheet will just suck it in and put it in however I want. I mean, that's where I'd ideally like to be, but I'm retired now, and it's not going to take me a couple months to do it. It's going to take me long. So anyhow, I'll stop now.
All right. Any questions for Sylvia? We just want to make sure that the money is well cared for in the accounts, and that we have good plans in place to make sure that what is there is really there and what's spent really should be spent. Okay, any comments or questions for Carol's presentation, for Sylvia's presentation? I think we might have some show and tell. Any show and tellers today? Yes. I saw like a Radio Shack power supply or something. Oh, the Bob Mix repair request. That is a Radio Shack. That's something like what a realistic.
It's smart.
It's a
smart battery charger.
It's a smart battery charger that Bob's going to fix. And yeah, now you need a smart battery. All right, Walter, what are you showing us tonight?
We've been talking about, we had some presentations on Meshtastic.
Can you are you able to move, or did I move the camera? Carol, should I move the camera? Sylvia, can you stop the share?
So I just recently completed building my packet terminal. This is licensed Meshtastic. So this is amateur radio Meshtastic. And so what we have is a computer in here, a Windows computer. It's an older model. A packet TNC. This is a Cantronics KPC3 Plus right here. And VHF UHF radio. Kenwood TMD 700. And with this, I can operate a node. I can hop from node to node all over the West Coast. And it can be a standalone BBS, so people can leave messages, or I can do message forwarding, do WinLink with it, pretty much everything. You can deploy it anywhere and set up a node network. And it's really good for disaster relief, stuff like that. You can, like I said, you can have BBSs set up at every station, and people can leave messages, we need more water, medical supplies, whatever, and you don't even have to be on the keyboard to get that message. It can just show up, and you even know the light is blinking, that means you've got a message waiting for you. So
do you need a keyboard, an antenna? Oh, there's the keyboard. Okay.
So
battery.
No, I don't like putting batteries in my devices. I like to keep them external.
Okay.
So, yeah, but just plug it in right here. Everything is 12-volt powered. Don't need any AC at all.
Where's the antenna?
Plug it in. right here.
All right, you drilled a hole through the back of the
Yeah,
case.
see, there's a plug there.
Okay,
So
all right.
that's it. It's, oh yeah, there's a very active packet network in this area. There's 2 nets. There's one on Sunday night, and then there's a week-long net where you just have to go to a node and leave a message. And we cover pretty much Southern Oregon to Fresno to Tahoe to, there's a lot of people in the Bay Area. So that whole kind of area is very active. And that's just on one frequency. There's a few other packet frequencies. So, and I haven't even played around with UHF. There might be some 440 nets as well. So,
Okay.
but yep.
That's very impressive. So you use this all the time?
Yeah, so I
Okay.
built this, I had this at home just sitting
Yeah.
on a table,
Yeah.
but I wanted to be able to take it and then I could just leave it on the table and as my node, but also take it to field day or something like that.
Right.
Last year I had check-ins for field day on packet out in the field.
Oh, you
So,
did?
yeah, from the
Okay.
Bay Area. So
And the case is just a
just an old case. I got it free from
Yeah.
a guy that I bought a used radio and I just got it
repurpose
up and repurposed it. So,
All right.
yep.
Very, very cool. Any questions for Walter?
And
Online-
also,
online?
Charlie K6 CVD, he has another version of Packet where it's all software based instead of using a hardware TNC. And he is going to be at the May 2nd event, and we're going to do a demonstration, show the different
that's good.
versions.
All right.
We can also leave messages between each other. So,
Okay.
yep.
That's cool. All right, questions? Questions online? All right. Anybody else have anything to share or show or to talk about? Yeah, that's very cool, Walter. All right, I want to remind everybody about Wednesday night nets. We love the participation. Keep doing that. Our net control operators are doing an excellent job. Remember, so tomorrow night we have our VHF net, our HF net on 10 meters, which is also technician friendly, and slow scan TV. And then on Saturdays, we have the 40 meter net at 3 p.m. Pacific time on 7181 plus sometimes, depending on what's going on. And Bob has a question over here, and you're going to say something, Carol? Oh, and we had some check-ins on CW because they were QRP and weren't being heard by voice. So that happens occasionally. If you're a ham on low power and desperate to check into the net.
So the ARRL is celebrating the 250th anniversary of our country. And they're asking people to do worked all states throughout this year. And they're also having unique stations, W1AW stroke, we are 6, so it would be W1AW stroke 6. And you have a week to make as many contacts from that station twice a year. And so the California stations just finished this week. And just for grins, Neil, KL7HQR, and I made 178 15-meter W1AW stroke 6 contacts and 87 17-meter contacts. So it was kind of fun.
Okay. Okay. Carol, anything else that we should? Oh, the drawer prize giveaway. All right. We have an ICV80 HT. If you pick it up this month, Phil will test it for you next month. Right. An authentic nano VNA. Ed Fong roll-up antenna, 2 meter, and the other one, 70 centimeter. And of course, coax. And I think, yes, this is the 40 feet of coax. Interestingly, we had a run on coax, and this has been hanging around for a while. And if you guys really are desperate for a tiny essay on rain check, we will get it. Bill had it. Bill had his nano VNA on rain check, and we came through, didn't we? Yeah, it came through. So, all right, Gert, who's going to do the draw? New members? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, well, everybody have their tickets. Anybody want to buy more? Okay. All right, George. Here, let's get George the microphone. One, three, two. Alan, congratulations. Thanks, George. Alan, this is tough choices, tough choices. No, there goes the coax. Congratulations. All right, anything else for the meeting before we end? Anything online? Any comments? Questions? All right, everybody. Thank you all for being here tonight. We'll see you on May 5th. We'll see you May 2nd in the HOR parking lot. And what's that? I didn't see it. Okay. All right. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you.